Could you handle that? Thank you. Excellent. All right, starting over. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Supporting Incoming Ninth Graders Interactive Webinar event. My name is Patrice Williams, and I'm just so thrilled to see all of you. Before we begin, I have a few logistics to go over. You may notice that we're using Zoom meeting as opposed to Zoom webinar. Using meeting will enable us to have an interactive and collaborative time together. This also means that I'll rely on each of you to manage your own audio. So please mute your microphones unless you're speaking. This will help with background noise, keep it at a minimum. Use the chat if you're experiencing any difficulties or have questions during this meeting. My colleague, Carrie Krause, is available to assist with any troubleshooting or questions that you may have. This session is being recorded. The recording and slides will be shared after this event is completed. I'm so pleased to introduce the FHI 360 U.S. Education team that will be facilitating this event. We have our director, Risa Sackman, and our senior advisor of teaching and learning, Nancy Gannon, both of whom have been leading the outreach and creation of the connected and engaged site that you will learn more about. I'm also pleased to introduce our expert presenter, Jenny Scala. Jenny is a principal researcher for AIR. She has managed AIR's early warning systems efforts since 2013 and led projects focused on dropout prevention in rural states and districts as well as urban districts. Jenny has served as a researcher on multiple regional education laboratories, including West and the Northeast and the Islands, leading early warning systems work. The design of today's meeting is to be collaborative. We're all about to enter an unprecedented school year, and while research and best practices are important, we recognize that the true expertise is through the cumulative experiences of education leaders and practitioners in the field. So to capture all of your thoughts and experiences, we'll be using Jamboards throughout this meeting. Some of you have used this, I'm sure, many times, or a similar tool, but some of you may be new to it. So I'm just going to do a really quick tutorial and then we'll get started. So Jamboards are a Google product. They are a virtual collaboration whiteboards, and they're effective for brainstorming, organizing ideas, participant engagement, and documenting ideas. So let me show you our Jamboard. Here's what it looks like. Jamboards can be one or a series of slides. You'll see up here that we are using 10 slides today, and you can use the arrow to toggle through slides. And then over here on the left, you have a toolbar. So you have a pen, eraser, selection arrow, sticky notes, which is what we'll be using mostly today. You can add an image, shapes, text box, or laser pointer. So let me show you the sticky notes. If you click there, select the color, type a note, hit save, cancel, and then you can move your note around. You can make it big or little, rotate it, and then you can add as many as you like. Then you can even edit if you want to add something or change. Okay, so it's pretty simple. So now that we've got that, I'd love to give it a try. So if you could use the Jamboard link that's in the chat. And when you do that, please be sure to include, introduce yourself and include your name, your school or district or organization, your location, and then answer the question, what can you celebrate that was successful for ninth graders over the past year? So you can go ahead and start doing that now. I can see everybody in there. Here's one. Kelly from Cape Cod. Hi, Kelly. How are you? Good to see you. Esther from Connect. Thank you. Good to see you. I hear it's been raining in Alaska. Fabiola, NYC. Thanks for coming. Let's see. We're celebrating lots of small wins, progress act with my students. Everything's moving around. Great, Amber Kelly working with Gear Up, welcome. Fabiola is celebrating using technology and help them to be able to complete their assignments. Wonderful. Hi, Tammy from Salish Kootenai College. Great, working on moments of connection with individual students. Intentionality. This is in 2 high schools that I support, one-on-one connections. Excellent. We'll give it 1 more minute, and then as I move on, if you want to keep introducing yourself, that would be great. Okay, wonderful. Keep on going, but we're going to move on just so we can get to the meat of our discussion. So I'm going to pass it off to Nancy.
Thanks, Patrice. I wanted to quickly walk us through the goals for today's webinar, and then we'll dig right in. So we have 4 goals today. We wanted to make sure that we all learn from last year's experiences with 9th graders. There's lots of new experiences we had in this last year, and so we want to collect those ideas. We want to share resources that might be helpful with us for this year's incoming 9th graders. I'm sure, like me, you all have been thinking a lot about this big transition that we've never done before, coming from an 8th grade that was so varied and unusual last year into the first year of high school. We also want to connect with other folks doing the work and use some of the collaboration strategies that we saw work over the last year. So those are our goals. Our agenda, there's going to be 4 parts to the webinar. We'll introduce you to the Connected and Engaged project. This webinar is a piece of that project. We'll meet Jenny Scala and hear about her research. We'll use a World Cafe breakout, which I'm sure some of you have already used before in your classes. And then we'll come back together to think about next steps. So I want to talk a little bit about Connected and Engaged. With funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, FHI 360 education team spent the last year exploring all of the extraordinary ways that instructional leaders managed their work during a global pandemic. We built Connected and Engaged, the website, to share a collection of evidence-based practices that instructional leaders used to support 6th through 12th grade remote and hybrid learning. Of course, this summer, we looked at the direct direction things were going and expanded the project so we could continue to listen to education leaders and document and share their strategies for prioritizing students and student learning during this time, knowing that the pandemic has not, in fact, ended. And we're not going back into a normal school year as many of us had hoped. To that end, we're expanding the website to specifically document answers to a few big questions educators are asking this fall. How can we best support college and career readiness in this climate, knowing that in this last year and a half, there have been major shifts in our young people's choices around college and career? How can we ignite student learning if they're coming in from maybe a great last year, maybe a last year that was very difficult for them? How can we build relationships, especially with kids who have felt disconnected in the last year? How can we support the well-being of young people? I know that's something that's on all of our minds. And how can we best support student transitions during this time of flux, which is, of course, the focus of today's webinar. In the next month or so, you'll be finding information on each of these topics on the Connected and Engaged website, which I'm hoping somebody's sharing in the chat. Right now, we're excited to dig in on how to support the transition of incoming ninth graders. And to that end, I'm going to turn this over to Jenny Scala.
Thanks, Nancy. So if you go ahead actually leave it here for this is perfect. So I've been doing work around implementation of early warning systems and looking at how to best support ninth grade students and 9th and 10th grade students and 6th through 10th grade students for a while. And in thinking about this presentation, I first wanted to really think about some of the lessons that we learned from this last year, where we were still able to work with various schools and support them through really thinking about how to support students who are displaying symptoms of risk. And so that's what this next slide, if we go forward, kind of has some of those summary kind of things that we've thought about. And the biggest takeaway writ large is just, we've heard these things previously, but there's been this increased sense of urgency. And then out in the field last week, I realized that there's an additional increased sense of urgency because staff, and you may really relate to this, are really burned out. The pandemic has gone on for a long time. There are a lot of other aspects that are feeding into this kind of sense. But having done this work around supporting ninth graders and their transition and supports for over 2 decades, I've never felt it the way that it feels right now in terms of what's happening. And so I do want to acknowledge that because I think that's really important. And so some of where the lessons are on ways that we can give people some time back so that they feel less burned out and are able to really see the support and the success, which is for students, which is, for many of us, why we got into the field of education. So I want to kind of acknowledge the room and the space that we're in as we go into this another unprecedented year that we find ourselves going into. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to draw attention to a few of them. And this really tightly connects to kind of some assumptions that I have for us that we can use as a starting point for our foundation conversations and what will come next. For next year. But first, looking back at what we've learned from last school year. The second point that's up here about a team of adults to champion this work is critical. It does not matter if that was in schools that were in hybrid, remote, or in person. There was this need to have adults championing this work that knew students, that knew what the available supports were, so that there was a time where adults were getting together to make sure that supports were really meeting students' needs, and digging into data to make sure that that happened. And it became really abundantly clear just in this past year, we've always advocated for teams to do this work. It became that much more apparent about the necessity of having teams rather than just one person in the building being in charge of this work. The fourth one around disaggregation of data, we saw a lot of places that were trying to slice and analyze their data in different ways that could have included different instructional settings, and really recognizing that they need to be able to go a little bit finer grain in their data to ensure that the appropriate supports were provided for students. And so in this last school year, being able to really dig into data and look at students kind of in terms of instructional settings, in terms of kind of what might be happening in the community, just being able to really look a little bit more fine grain at data helped ensure that the appropriate supports, and then recognizing the need to build in and reach out and have more supports in general, more holistic supports was something that we definitely heard as well, which kind of gets into that fifth point of those tiered systems of support. We know that there's a need for students in terms of a broad range of supports, and really coming at this of thinking about how do we have supports that all students are going to be needing. Coming back to next school year, really thinking that more students are going to be displaying symptoms of risk. And so how do we make sure that what we provide for all students is really strong, so that we really support students where they're at and recognizing that need and really thinking about that system, because otherwise it's really hard to be able to do that individual student by individual student. So really thinking about some of those systems that we can build on and leverage. And the sixth point that we have up here, I think it's really important that as we think about really supporting ninth graders, one of the wonderful things of working with secondary students, you can do it with all students, but secondary students as well, I always advocate that we really talk with students about this work, about checking in with them, about what's working for them, about what their needs may be, rather than this work happening to students, but really engaging students in this process, having them involved in kind of coming up with what would be like a good benchmark to see if things are going well. And I don't mean that just in terms of academics, but kind of being able to have these conversations from a positive perspective to really support students, so that they know that we continue to care about students and that they see themselves in this work rather than this work just happening to them. So we really want to make sure that we continue to engage students in all of this rather than this just happening to students. So again, these are not in some ways new, which is actually really helpful, but I think this past year just underscored the importance of this. So those are some of the lessons that we had from our last year. And then the next slide is then saying, okay, well, if this is what we've learned from last year, what does this mean as we're looking forward going into this now kind of almost around the corner school year for us? We need to acknowledge that there are many students and families that did not participate in learning this past school year. And so how do we make sure that we're re-engaging students appropriately in their families? I am making an assumption that students are going to be displaying higher levels of risk. They're going to be displaying these symptoms. They might manifest themselves a little bit differently. And we need to make sure that we are planning to be able to support more students displaying higher levels of risk, which connects into this idea of making sure that if you're using a tiered framework, that you have really strong tier 1 supports. And we often think, particularly in ninth grade, about what our like kind of tier 2, our targeted supports, or our tier 3 supports might be. But we really want to come down and really think about what our strong tier 1 is, and making sure that students really understand as part of this tier 1, what the role of being a student in the classroom, if they weren't last year, what that means, what that looks like. How do we do that in a way that students also see themselves and their culture and their identity really supported in that process? Which connects to the next one about having a real robust catalog of supports and strategies, including mental health, including community supports. We need to think broadly about this. And I think we have in some ways, but I think we need to be really broad and really doing some asset mapping in our community to know how we can really leverage our community supports to make sure that we're getting the supports to students that they need, which then means this kind of second to last point or row on the slide, we need to make sure that we have a process for how we're going to go through the decision-making experience to make sure that students are getting what they need, those supports, and how we're monitoring students once they've been assigned to supports. It can't be done kind of with one teacher doing it one way and another teacher doing it another way. We really need to have some sort of system in that process that's agreed upon. And I think that one's going to be really important to kind of getting students to supports and also reducing kind of adult burnout that we're seeing and hearing in the field. And this last one is more of kind of in education, in my experience, we do a really good job about communicating at the beginning. And then we're like, things have started and we don't need to communicate about it because we're now doing all of these other things. I think this year kind of we need to continually communicate about what's going on, what supports are provided, how we're engaging our community in it, how we're engaging students in this, how we're sharing this out with the rest of the school building community, with the rest of the community writ large. We just need to make sure that we're really taking the time to continually communicate. And so this is one that is not always something that we do consistently throughout something. We often, as I say, do it at the beginning and then say, okay, we've checked that box. We can cross that off of our to-do list and we can move on. I think we need to continue to have communication campaigns throughout the course of the year. So those are just some things that kind of to get people thinking and going about kind of what we've heard, what we've learned, and what we're really planning for people to have as we move forward into this next school year. And so as Nancy planted the seed, we want to give the majority of our time today to really these kind of world cafes. And so we're going to be using that to kind of have an opportunity for engagement. And so you can see the picture that's up on the slide. You may have done this in person. It's basically where you get a group of people together around a table and you are brainstorming and answering questions about a specific topic, and you're able to kind of capture your notes. And then you rotate to the next table and you see how people addressed the prior team or group, addressed the question that was at that table, and then you add on to it. So it's this way of kind of continually collaborating and kind of capturing all of our ideas in one spot. And so we're able to do that. Well, since we're doing this across many time zones today, we obviously aren't going to be able to do it in person, but we're going to try, and we're going to ask for your kind of patience and willingness to explore with us doing this in a virtual setting. So we're going to do that. And before we kind of move into that, though, we thought it'd be important to kind of establish some norms. So there are going to be some questions that your facilitators are going to change tables, you are not. So we're going to kind of keep our movement limited since we know transitions can be hard. So you're going to have some specific questions for your room. But let's go back just a second for to go through some of those other norms. We want to presume positive intentions with everybody. I want you all just to take a moment to kind of read the rest of the norms that are up on the slide. If you have any additional norms that you'd like to add, you can add them to the chat. And then to kind of kick us off, I think I'm handing this to Patrice.
Yeah, definitely. So here are the questions for each breakout room. Number one, for supports, what are the ways that your team will provide incoming ninth graders the supports they need in the 2021-22 school year? For breakout room number two, equity, how is your district or school preparing to address racial and cultural inequities and their impacts on Black and Indigenous ninth grade students of color? And then number three, academics, giving the variations and experiences over the last year, how are your district schools assess student learning needs and meet them where they are this fall? So you will be assigned to breakout rooms now. And it will take just a few minutes transition to travel to your next one. So enjoy. So Roxanne and Shannon, Do you see a room button? Let me see. Shannon, you should be in room. Oh, okay. How are we doing? Another Jamboard link? Hi, Rena. We are in breakout rooms, so I'm going to go ahead and pop you in one.
I'm muted. I'm going to run to the restroom so quickly and I'll be back. But right now we have 5 minutes left, so we're okay.
Okay, so you're still handling the time. Okay.
I have a timer on my phone, so I promise I'll be very quick in taking care of that need, and then I'll be back.
Great. Hi, Rena. If you can hear me, we're in breakout groups. So if you see join room, go ahead and join. Rena, can you hear me? Wait, is there only one other person? All right, I'm going to join room A. Is that okay?
Sorry, Amber and Tammy are in that room.
Yeah.
And then it looks like Raina needs to, has not joined yet, but is set to. Raina, can you hear me? Are you there, Raina? Apologies if I'm saying your name incorrectly.
Should I go to that room?
You certainly can.
No. Does that make you nervous?
No, I mean, I can handle it. I'm like,
No, I'm going to stay.
I want to do it right, you know?
Yeah, I do too. That's most important. I'm going to stay.
But yeah, so at this point we have 1, 2, 3, 4 folks in room A, 2 folks with Jenny, and then 3 folks with Nancy.
And 4
I'm not
with
sure if Nancy's able to. Okay, we've got 2.5 minutes left, so we're still doing great on time. Yeah, I don't want to move anybody now because I don't want them to be like,
No.
what's happening?
I mean, everyone will go to every group, so I think we just sit tight. and everyone will experience the smaller group.
Yeah,
You guys, since we're recording, is it recording this or is it recording the breakout session?
Recording this, I mean, we could pause it for now, but we'll definitely edit it before we send it out.
Okay, so it's not recording the breakout sessions?
No, we tried to.
we tried very hard this morning to figure it out, and it was a little challenging.
Okay.
But we could look at the Jamboards. Let's do
Yes, I'm gonna get my
that.
text ready to broadcast a message to everybody.
Carrie, you're sending a 2-minute warning?
90 seconds, and I'm sending it right now.
Okay.
I had the wrong message. I'm just like hopping in. Okay, so that just went out.
Great.
Carrie, we'll just coordinate so that I send it to our team's chat. to everyone.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Hi, Rena, are you there?
Okay, that means the 22nd is going to go out right now. All right, I'm going to start moving people.
Great.
Jenny's going to session C.
Your stickies.
Nancy is moving to session B. And Risa Sackman is moving to room A. It looks like there's 2 Nancy Gannons. Oh, she left now. Okay, I see what happens. It just waits till
Yeah.
she officially leaves the room. Like, how are we have 2 Nancys?
Yeah, there's like a little delay.
It looks like Risa hasn't joined her group yet, though.
I see that.
And I put it at 15 seconds. Like, well, that's when we close it. So I'm not sure.
Maybe she's just in limbo.
She's still in room B.
I see it, yeah.
It took her a long time to move when we were in rehearsal too.
Do we know that do we know if Beth needs to be going where Nancy goes?
I would leave her because the group, then it would be even,
Yeah, but I mean, she's not doing Nancy's role right now, right?
No, she's not.
Okay, thank you. Because I just want to make sure that I'm like,
there she goes.
okay, phew. Yeah, so she's just talking to 2 people now, looks like. And then there's 4. And yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Hi,
Yeah,
Rena, can you hear us?
Beth wants to move with
Oh,
Nancy.
Raina, are you there? Sorry, I thought I heard you. Raina, are you there?
Did you say move Beth?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't move her. Did you just move her, Patrice?
Yeah, I did.
I was like, I went in and it won't let me click move.
Raina's in chat.
Oh,
Oh,
I got it. What is it, like a blue? Okay. Oh, great. So you can hear us. So Rena, if you could join the breakout group, the breakout session, and use this link. I'm gonna put it back in the Jamboard again. I mean, back in the chat again. And you can use that while you're in the session. So even if you can't speak, you can still respond. No problem. Enjoy.
Do you want to move Raina to a breakout, or does she need to go herself?
I don't think she's in room A.
yeah,
sure.
it just says she has not joined yet.
But I don't think there's anything more I can do. When I click on it, I don't get any other.
I'm not able to move her unless I move her to another group, which I could move her to room C.
Yeah, why don't you do that? See if that works.
Oh, good.
In about 10 seconds, I'm going to do the 90-second thing. Misha, if you want to write to everyone, I'm going to do the 90 seconds.
Oh, is Kelly leaving? Kelly? Oh, you're muted, Kelly. We can't hear you.
Lucas. Sorry, my computer died and then I got kicked out of the room.
Oh, okay. Which room were you in?
The academic room?
Great. What is that, C, Carrie?
Yeah, with Nancy.
Great.
Well, wait, did I put her in the wrong one?
You put her in C. I
But-
moved.
You got it. Okay, thank you.
I moved her real. She'll be in there and then she'll be very confused because she'll be gone 3 seconds later.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Here, is it time?
I will be broadcasting in about 10 seconds.
Is this the last one?
We'll be moving into our last one.
Okay.
Are you sending a 10-second warning?
I see a lot of activity on the.
Yeah, I'm going to send it in right now, like a 10-second warning. Okay. This is
Doing an
fun.
awesome job, Carrie.
This is making me sweat. We're
Yes,
cutting this part out, right? Because my face looks blotchy.
yes, we will cut this part out. We probably should have paused it, but we'll just edit it out.
That's okay. It looks like we've got. All right, that's our time. I'm going to start moving people. Nancy is going to move to A. I'm going to move Beth after. I'm going to move all of the people first, and then I will move her.
Sounds good.
Okay, and this last one is how many minutes?
10 minutes, I believe.
Okay, we definitely don't have 10 minutes. So we're gonna.
We'll
leave
do 8.
8. Yep. Tell me when you're done and I'll start my timer.
All right, again, just waiting for Nancy to accept her room. Oh, she's in. Okay, start the timer, please. We said 8, right?
I think so, yeah.
My timer's running now. Okay. Phew.
There's lots of Jamboard activities. That's good.
These Post-its saved my life here. Saved my life.
So smart.
Color coded. You gotta go blue, green, orange. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I haven't checked the chat in a while. I should probably do that. Oh, Misha's just been doing a great job. Boom, 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 done. Look at her go. I can't believe how fast the time has gone. It feels like it's been 5 minutes.
It's going so fast. Next webinar, we need to leave a whole lot more time for breakout sessions, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if we could do either 90-minute or like, you know, an hour and 15. But yeah, we do.
We also had a few people drop off, like before I even put the groups, because they like were flying out of the groups, and I was like, oh, okay. It's like 2 people we lost.
Yeah, that was weird. I noticed that.
I was like, what happened? Yeah, because it was at 20 and then it went down to 18. And I was like, well, okay then.
That's interesting. We had 40 RSVP, we had 20 show up, so about half.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what happens, I think.
Yeah.
It's about 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least with events, like with live events, it's usually around 50%.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that.
Oh, I sign up for things and then I'm like, why did I think I could do this?
Yeah.
And then I can't join, you know, but I usually watch the recording and comb through for like anything that's
Mm-hmm.
valuable, you know, information.
Should we be seeing something on the Jamboard for the summary? Or that's not a Jamboard.
That's the 3rd session. Oh yeah, they should start to summarize. That's the last 3 minutes. Actually, in maybe a minute or 2, we should probably put a reminder, like if you haven't started summarizing, summarize now.
Okay.
But we're at 5 minutes left, so maybe we tell them in like a minute, like start summarizing.
Yeah.
I thank you for catching that, because I think they're probably at this point in a flow and not even thinking about this is the right summary.
Yeah. Thank you both. You guys are doing such a great job.
This is fun.
So interesting. This one, I will stop using the language of catching up. This is not a race.
Nice.
Okay. All right. We've got
About 4 minutes, but I think maybe we should. Do you want to do it, Misha, or me? I can tell them like start summarizing.
I didn't even see Maud. I just like threw her in her room.
Yeah, I saw Maud. It's so cool that she joined.
So cool. I love her.
I also love that her name is all capitals. It's like makes it like very bold. Like I am Maud. I like it.
Nice.
How far off of time are we though if we end in 3 minutes? I think that's fine. Right?
It's fine. The final slides
okay?
are nothing.
Okay.
It's really just the summary is what's important. And then if you do the
yeah, I've got I just have to copy and paste it into the chat.
Yeah.
Why does this one feel longer than the other ones?
It is.
I mean, yeah, but like it feels extra,
It does feel extra long.
you know, like double the length of the first one. But maybe that's because I was like panicking internally, trying to get everyone sorted into the right space. Okay, Misha, in about 15 seconds, I'm going to send out the 90-second warning.
Okay.
And it was broadcast.
I also just really think July or August is tough.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
really well.
You know, I got so many out of office bounce backs from all the like inviting I was doing.
Misha, in about 10 seconds, I'm going to send out the 20-second. And that will be closing all rooms and bringing everyone back.
The 20-second or the 10-second?
It's 20 seconds. I'm going to give it a few more than like 20 seconds. It's going to have 12 seconds remaining just to give people opportunity.
How are the boards looking?
They're looking really cool.
All right, I'm going to close the rooms. We ready?
Yep. I'm gonna mute.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody. Hi, Maud. Hi, Tammy. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
All
So
right.
good to see you, Patrice.
Yes, always. Thank you so much. You guys are making my day. All right. I hope that went well. I can't wait to hear. We're gonna take a minute. I know it's been a lot, but we're getting close to time, so I'm just gonna kind of keep us moving. So we're gonna go ahead and do a summary. I see some people still popping back in. We're gonna do a summary. So if each group could like give a little summary, and I'm gonna do my best to take live notes, and then I'll send it out to everybody. And remember, you have your Jamboards. You will have access to those. So you'll have access to everybody's information. Okay, can I hand it over to Nancy? You're muted.
Great. Thank you, Patrice. We did 3 sessions, 3 rounds, and had some really interesting ideas come up. One was around, so our question was, given the variations in experiences over the last year, how will your districts and schools assess student learning and meet them where they are this fall? So there was some specific assessment strategies, like using formative assessments like writing samples versus using standardized assessments like the NWEA MAP, which is a very popular, quick way to figure out where kids are. So we heard about that. We also heard about preemptively doing things like reviewing transcripts of kids coming in, looking at Summer Bridge and bringing rising ninth graders into a summer program to help support them. And then we finally heard a little bit about, well, two other things. One is being the importance of being assets-based, stop using the language of deficits and catching up and kids are behind, recognizing that this was a pandemic and kids are where they are and did what they did and did their best, and teachers did their best in the last year. So so providing that assets lens, really trying to get to know kids on a more personal level this year to understand how to support them. And then lastly, I heard a little bit about strategies for supporting kids who need extra help, including high dosage tutoring, which was something one person talked about in terms of an intervention that might be important this year.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can move on to, let's go to the equity group. Is that Risa?
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was so strange. I was muted for this group, but not for the small groups. That was a very unexpected thing. So for equity, you can see, and by the way, just so you know, here's our individual Post-it notes, but on the next page, on page 8, we did a little summary. So we have both. But in terms of thematic, we really saw a lot of, we heard in the 3 groups emerge the importance of professional development for teachers. So that ranges from book clubs to meetings, meeting with, like, having intermediaries and support agencies meet with the district and bring in trainers for culturally responsive teaching. It also providing a year, and not it not being a one-off kind of thing, but really making sure to provide a year-long calendar and resources to facilitate that. Also, capturing student voice and empowering students. So avoiding the kind of grouping by ability and focus instead on scaffolding to bring everyone up to level, and really having choice and voice. Also, relationships between students and adults and students is more important than ever. So there was a lot of focus on hiring extra guidance counselors, social workers, really looking at social emotional learning and trauma-informed practice, putting emphasis on emotional well-being more than anything else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, and then Jenny for supports.
Yeah, I'm going to say everyone can check out the Jamboard. I know we're almost out of time later on. There was a lot of community building activities, the role, making sure students know the role of being in school. There's some other great ideas about having students be involved in hiring for advisory positions, some other professional development. And there was a question about how to share a resource to the group. So if there's somebody at FHI 360 that we can have Tammy email that can then disseminate out a resource, there's also some free resources here as well. That was super fast, but I'm going to say that that's the wrap up, and you can check out the Jamboard later on.
Excellent. Thank you, Jenny. Yes, an interesting time. I'll just roll through. We do have upcoming events. Carrie is going to put a link in the chat. So if you want to be informed of our events as they come up, then we'll get that out to you. And Tammy, that's also a great way that I'll have your information so that we can share the resources. So in September, we are partnering with Learning Forward on a webinar topic, Igniting Learning, and we will also have a Twitter chat. In October, we'll have a webinar and Twitter chat on college and career readiness. And then in November, we'll do the same, and we're partnering with Castle on social emotional learning. And then also look for updates for Connected and Engaged, which will be launching next month, which we're very excited about, and we'll give you an alert. We have a list of resources that you'll get as you get this slide deck. And then don't forget to visit Connected and Engaged. And then here you have contact information for myself, Nancy, Risa, and Jenny. I just want to thank all of you so much. It's so good to see all your faces and hear all your input. And we're gonna do it this year. Okay. I love all the love. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day. Please reach out if you want to share resources or have any additional questions.
We got this, y'all.
Yes.